commitment by Transnet to focus on clearing backlogs that occurred across the port and rail system during the industrial action, which negatively impacted the economy and sectors that are dependent on its services. And this was also strongly expressed even by the union itself. Cabinet expressed its gratitude to the support and cooperation given by business during the strike. It encourages a continuous relationship between Transnet management and labor for the benefit of the company and the economy of the company. That includes, by the way, even a relationship amongst union themselves. A warm and a productive relationship is always good for stability of the sector and any other sector for that matter. On the South Arabian relations, South Africa-Saudi Arabia relations, Cabinet welcomed the successful working visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa on the 15th of October to the 16th. During the visit, the two countries signed 17 memoranda of understanding in various fields such as agriculture. Other MOUs signed are on the establishment of Joint Business Council, cooperation in the field of military industries and procurement, and on geological survey cooperation. The President used the visit to invite Saudi Arabian business to South Africa's 5th Investment Conference that will take place in 2023. Saudi Arabia is South Africa's second largest trading partner in the Middle East and the largest source of imports from the region. International relations between both countries have resulted in a positive effect on trade and investment trends. In the infrastructure area, the Cabinet welcomed the commissioning of a state-of-the-art plastic production plant by leading international manufacturer, the ALPLA Group, at Lanzeria in Gauteng. This augments President Ramaphosa's commitment to position infrastructure development as means to stimulate the economy and increase employment. The investment worth of $50 million is a key contribution to the Lanzeria Smart City Master Plan that will drive sustainability and recycling, as well as create and sustain 350 jobs. Included is an apprenticeship program for 36 mechatronics and recycling technicians for ALPA Group operations across Southern Africa. The apprentice program will commence in 2023 with the first 12 South African apprentices coming from local communities. On the illegal mining hurts communities and our economy and results in a loss of revenue for both government and the mining sector. Cabinet welcomed the seizure of the firearms cache and arrest of 20 suspects linked to illegal mining during an operation at a mine shaft in Stilfontein in the northwest. Cabinet appealed to South Africans to continue working with law enforcement agencies to ensure the success of the future anti-crime operations. This will send a strong message that crime does not pay and that criminals will be arrested and prosecuted without fear or favor. On the energy sector, Eskom recently signed a 30-year lease agreement with 4 independent power producer investors to construct new clean energy generation capacity at Majuba and Tutuga power station in Mpumalanga. The land leases will attract an estimated investment of about 40 billion. The 4 investors, HDF Energy South Africa, Red Rocket South Africa, Solar Group, and Mainstream Renewable Power Development in South Africa, will contribute at least 2,000 megawatts to the national electricity grid. The new generation capacity is expected to be connected to the grid within 24 to 36 months from financial closure, subject to environmental, land zoning and other regulatory approvals. On the food security area, Cabinet welcomed the hosting of Agri South Africa Congress 2022 in Pretoria on the 13th to 14th October 2022 under the theme Open Code, Growing Local Closed Code. The Congress engaged in issues such as making agriculture master plans work for local growers, sustainable infrastructure for locally grown food, making the local environment sustainable for local food production into the future, and strengthening food producers' capacity to process locally grown produce. I beg your pardon. In further prioritizing food security, Cabinet also welcomed the launch of the National Biosecurity Hub by the Department of Science and Innovation Agriculture Bioeconomy Innovation Partnership Program. In collaboration with the University of Pretoria, the hub will support the prevention, reduction, and management of crop and animal disease, which will contribute to increased productivity, food security, and sustainable rural development. On the Cabinet decisions, the ratification of the Decentralization of Charter of the African Union, Cabinet approved the submission to Parliament the AU Charter on the values and principles of decentralization, local governance and local development for ratification. South Africa signed the Charter in August 2021. The Decentralization Charter provides a framework to all member states, a guiding document on the decentralization of powers and functions from national to other spheres of government. The Charter deals largely with the decentralization of authority and functions, local governance framework, and local development. On the 32nd Annual International Railway Safety Council, Cabinet approved the hosting of the 32nd Annual Railway International Safety Council meeting in Johannesburg from the 1st to the 6th of October 2023 under the theme Reshaping Railways in an Uncertain World. The same group is an international forum that brings together railway safety professionals from all over the world to exchange experiences so as to improve railway safety. As a member of the IRSC, South Africa's railway safety regulator last hosted this forum in 2015. On the draft National Infrastructure Plan 2015, Cabinet approved the gazetting of the draft NIP 250 Phase 2 for public consultation. The plan offers direction in strengthening and augmenting government strategic integrated project. It defines the strategic projects in human settlement, municipal electricity, water, solid waste, passenger transport, education and health infrastructure, digital infrastructure, and crime and corruption. The formal plan provides a vision of the area to be tackled, offers an assessment of the current status, outlines the essential conditions for success, and states what needs to be done to achieve the vision. It proposes the implementation process to be taken over the 3-year running cycle action plan. On the national implementation framework towards the professionalization of the public service, Cabinet approved the national implementation framework towards the professionalization of the public service. The framework was published for public consultation in 2021. The framework provides 5 pillars on interventions in professionalizing the public service. The pillars include, amongst others, pre-entry recruitment, selection within the public services, induction and onboarding, planning and performance management, continuous learning and professional development, and career progression and career incidents. changes in the conditions of employment for Director Generals. Cabinet approved the report that proposes measures to strengthen capacity and capability of DGs in the public service. The reports made several proposals, including the tenure of DGs and the management of delegations by executive authority to the accounting officers. The report also proposed that the DG in the presidency will be designated as the head of the public administration. In the provinces, this function will be designated to the DGs in the offices of the Premier. The report further proposed measures to guide departments on the management of contracts. The revised performance management system for DG is being revised to align it with the approved changes. The Acting Minister of Public Service Administration, Minister Thulas Nxesi, will next week convene a media briefing to outline the National Implementation Framework towards professionalization of public service and also unpack the approved changes in the condition of employment for DGs. Fifth Progress Report on the implementation of White Paper on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Cabinet approved the Fifth Progress Report on the implementation of WPRPD, which provides an update on the implementation of the WPRPD. The report covers inputs from national and provincial government departments. It provides updates on the policy implementation that includes budget allocation. The first annual progress report was published in 2017. This fifth progress report has been approved to be gazetted and published by the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualification Concerning Higher Education. Cabinet approved the submissions to Parliament of the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualification Concerning Higher Education for ratification. Once ratified, it will be deposited to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization and domestically enabled through the National Qualifications Framework Act of 2008. The Global Convention establishes universal principles for fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory recognition of higher education qualifications and qualifications. It allows for the recognitions of foreign qualifications in 193 UN member states. Withdrawal of the amendments to the guide for members of the executive. Cabinet endorsed the announcement by the President on Monday, 17 October 2022, to withdraw the amendments to the guide for members of the executive, also called the Ministerial Handbook for 2022. The amendments that were made in April 2022 provide for additional capacity to some of the offices of the ministers who are responsible for more than one portfolio. They also require that the state to take over full responsibility for the cost associated with the provision of electricity and water to official residents occupied by members of the executive. Cabinet noted the concerns raised by the public and resolved to review the guide for members of the executive. This process will be handled by a neutral structure, and once completed, the guide will be made public through the Department of Public Service and Administration website. On the Jet Energy Transition Partnership and Jet Energy Transition Investment Plan. After welcoming a presentation on the Jet P and the investment plan, Cabinet endorsed the Jet Energy Transition Partnership and Investment Plan and expressed its appreciation of the detailed work undertaken to develop it. The Jet Investment Plan outlines the investments required to achieve the decarbonization commitments made by government of South Africa while promoting sustainable development and ensuring a just transition for affected workers and communities. The Interministerial Committee on the Climate Change will soon hold a media briefing to provide more details, in particular as it concerns to dealing with the fundability of the plan itself. The bill's draft Merchant Shipping Bill of 2022. Cabinet has approved the submission of the draft Merchant Shipping Bill of 2022 to Parliament for further processing. The bill overhauls the 70-year-old Merchant Shipping Act of 1951. Once enacted, the bill will provide the merchant shipping legal framework to regulate ships' value chain. It will regulate, amongst others, the designing, registration, naming and scrapping of ships. These changes will contribute towards reviving the maritime transport sector and also align the country with the International Maritime Organizational Convention. South Africa has ratified this convention. States Amendment Bill 2022. Cabinet approved the submission to Parliament of States Amendment Bill of 2022 for further processing. The bill proposes the amendment of States Act 1999. The amendment provides for the development of implementation of national statistics system that supports evidence-based decision. They strengthen the existing coordination between Statistics South Africa with other organs of the state and broaden the regulatory framework for the Act. If we get now to the upcoming events, National Presidential Small, Micro and Medium Enterprise and Cooperative Summit, the Department of Small Business Development in partnership with private sector stakeholders will host the National Presidential SMME and Cooperative Summit in Bryanston, Gauteng from 13 to 15 November. The summit will bring together private and public sector key actors in the small enterprise ecosystem to deliberate on finding ways to collaborate in strengthening this sector. Expected participants include the Chambers of Commerce, SMME practitioners, academics, policymakers, and development of finance institutions. The summit will also discuss the National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Master Plan, which provides a strategic framework to strengthen the SMMEs. The summit is also expected to introduce the annual Presidential SMME Awards. On the hosting of Presidential Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Summit 2022, the President will host the second Presidential GBVF Summit at the Gallagher Convention Center in Gauteng on the 1st and 2nd November. I beg your pardon. The first summit held in 2018 was used to recommit government and social partners to ending the high incidence of violence against women in our country. The second summit will be used to take stock of the progress made in the implementation of National Strategic Plan on GBVF. It will be hosted under the theme Open Code Accountability, Acceleration and Amplification Now, close quote. The summit will deliberate on, amongst other issues, finding ways to accelerate actions and accountability from key departments and all the stakeholders, that includes civil society, the private sector, and labor. Fifth Presidential Imbizo at the Northern Cape. The 5th District Development Model Presidential Imbizo in Uppington, Northern Cape, will take place on Friday, 21st October 2022 at the local Mkolisi Dickie Jacobs Stadium. The DDM Presidential Imbizo will assess service delivery progress and challenges in the Northern Cape and intervene to resolve them. The DDM ensures that service delivery planning, implementation, and budgeting are integrated to enhance service delivery to communities. Leading up to the Imbizo, ministers and members of the executive councils and mayors will embark on a community outreach activities in and around Uppington. Medium-term budget policy statement. The Cabinet believes that the 2022 MTPS to be tabled by the Finance Minister in Okodongwana on Wednesday, 26 October 2022, is an important part of South Africa's open and accountable budget processing. The MTPPS gives substance to government's commitments within an overall level of spending that the nation can afford. It further details how government will close the gap between revenue and expenditure and make the most of available resources. On the Matric exams, the 2022 National Senior Certificate Examinations begin on the 31st October and end on the 7th December 2022. Cabinet wishes the class of 2022 well as they embark on the final leg of their school journey. The continued support from teachers, parents, and guardians will go a long way in helping these learners to face these exams with confidence. Cabinet urges parents and guardians to play their part by encouraging and motivating the learners and creating a conducive environment for studying at home. On the National Development Plan and State Capacity Conference, the Department of Public Service and Administration, in partnership with the National Planning Commission and the University of KwaZulu-Natal School of Government Studies, will host the NDP and State Capacity Conference from 7 to the 9th November 2022 at Howard College Campus, University of KwaZulu-Natal. The conference will reflect on state capacity and performance in the first 10 years of the NDP and will be held under the theme, open quote, reflections on state capacity and government performance through the first 10 years of the NDP, close quotes. Handing over of certificate of recognition to King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, President Ramaphosa will hand over the certificate of the recognition to His Majesty King Misuzulu Kazwelithini at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban on Saturday, 29 October 2022. This follows the customary coronation referred to as Ukungena Esibayeni, which some of us attended ceremony. Which was attended, and it actually took place to actually fulfill this exercise from the traditional point of view. Congratulations messages. Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to Mr. Sam Matigana, the Prime Minister elected of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Cabinet also joined the AU Election Observation Mission to the 7th October 2022 National Assembly election in Kingdom of Lesotho in commending the electoral and political maturity of the people of the Kingdom of Lesotho for conducting the successful elections. South Africa remains dedicated to strengthening and consolidating bilateral relations as well as enhancing cooperation on regional, continental and global issues of mutual interest. In the area of condolences, regarding Father Albert Nolan, who passed on at 88, a dedicated South African Catholic priest who challenged the religious views that sought to entrench apartheid system. In 2003, the then President Thabo Mbeki awarded him the Order of Luthuli in silver for his lifelong dedication to the struggle for democracy, human rights and justice, and for challenging the religious dogma, including the theological justification for apartheid. On the appointments, you will read for yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think there were quite a number of appointments. I think Minister is suggesting that you will get all the names in the statement which we will release. At this point, I would invite questions. Yes, ma'am. I'm good.
Do I ask now?
Yeah, you can ask.
Oh, okay. So we know Matric exams.
Just loud.
My ears are not very good.
Just loud.
Okay.
Just use the mic.
Hi, Naomi here from My News. We know Matric exams are starting
Naomi.
next week.
Naomi.
Yes. As load shedding continues across the country. So What plans does government have to minimize the impact of rolling blackouts on pupils? And then on the issue of gender-based violence, we've recently seen new statistics that show in South Africa every day about 3 children die. This is also on the back of, the Gungubele Cruz case that is in court currently, and 60 composed women's bodies have been found in Johannesburg. So where is government in terms of seriously tackling gender-based violence in the country?
Thank you. Any other question? I don't know who's doing our group WhatsApp or Samkel.
Thank you. Minister, just particularly on renewable energy. Hello.
Yes, we can.
Minister, just in essence, on the issue of renewable energy, the President, particularly in Saudi Arabia, spoke about South Africa's partnership with Aqua Power, a renewable energy and hydroelectricity generating company within that particular country. How far are you when it particularly comes to the companies that will be coming on stream with independent power producing capacity with green energy? Thank you.
Can you repeat the question, sir?
How far are you with getting international companies to assist South Africa with its energy generation deficiencies, particularly when it comes to the just transition from the old coal baseload going on to renewable energy, whether it be hydroelectricity or it be solar plants, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, you seem to have been clear. Only 2 questions. I don't know whether there's any group
We have something online, so that
so that Minister can.
Yes,
Peliso.
there's one question from Sulen Naidu, who is a freelance journalist. He's asking, and he's got about 2 questions.
Is that Naidu?
Naidu.
Sulen, yes. The first question is, has the President and Cabinet discussed the call by Trade Union FEDUSA to make the 27th December 2022 a public holiday to ensure that South Africans enjoy their full self-paid holidays and the workers are not disadvantaged?
We didn't get the date.
27th December 2022.
Okay. Thank you.
He motivates to say this was done by government previously in 2016, as Christmas this year again falls on a Sunday. The second question, he says, with just 11 days to go till Matric exams start, can the Minister explain why we have not had a briefing by government or Department of Basic Education on the state of readiness for these exams? Is government ready to administer the exams, consider the energy crisis? Those are the 2 questions that we have for now.
Thank you.
Oh, there's another one from Kate August Soyi Somaliti. Is asking, relating to the withdrawal of the amendments to the guide for the executive members, point number 8. In a recent interview around ministerial tax, Minister Gungubele led off a chortle at the suggestion that you use state hospitals. You not consider that a spit on the face of the millions of South African people who voted your government into power and who die in state hospitals? That's all for now.
Thank you.
You will forgive me. The exact question from Kate August.
The question, Minister, from Kate August, it relates to the withdrawal of the amendments to the guide for the executive members.
Yeah.
Point number 8. He says in a recent interview that you did, you let off a chortle at the suggestion that you use state hospitals.
Oh, okay.
And then he's asking, do you not consider that a spit on the face of the millions of people who voted for your government into power and who died in state hospitals?
Okay.
We now have a third question.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Bring the third question.
Erin Bates from Business Day has got about 4 questions. I'm not sure if you want to take that at the stage 4.
What is the last question?
Eric Bale says, will the president show face and address the nation on his implementation plan for the state capture and trial report recommendations? Or will he only file something in writing when it costs over 1 billion and has been a matter of high national interest? The second question from the very same journalist is asking what work is he and his cabinet doing to address the risk of a grey listing from the Financial Action Task Force. Is he mindful of the serious consequences of a grey listing and what is being done to limit this? Of all the issues raised, what was the most pressing during the cabinet meeting?
Okay, what are the most pressing?
Yes.
Okay. We start with Naomi. Well, there is no direct question, Naomi, as far as load shedding is concerned, because it involved a multiplicity of interventions. You will remember that at some time ago, the president tabled a plan of about 5 interventions. If you remember them, fixing ESCOM, ensuring the private power generation from embedded, 3, acceleration of procurement of gas, and then the other one being the Electrical Regulation Act, which is actually being amended to actually create more flow, and lastly, the roof solar tops by households. Those are 5 interventions. 5 interventions which have got different time frames. But intervention 1 was about dealing ESCOM with immediate effect and actually making sure that that which ESCOM can still afford supply is optimized. You remember recently there was this load shedding which was not anticipated, and there have been intervention in that regard, which has been followed by the appointment of the new board, which we want to give it a space to actually guide us with regard to where is it going to take this. They are not going to be alone, they will be with us. We thought it is important to give them that space. I already contemplate myself in the presidency to have a session with the chair of the board, Dadempo, who's got a track record of delivery in a number of crisis situations of this nature. So every attempt, everything is being done. So we hope we'll prevail over this as the time goes on. We hope school kids will not suffer unfortunate prejudice as far as that is concerned. On the GBV, Naomi, you will know that the President's Summit is one of the major interventions that led to the National Strategy Plan, and out of that a lot of decisions were taken. Amongst others, even during that time, as we speak now, we have no less than 380 courts, no less than 91,000 police trained for that purpose. And then if we go to DNA, I know that's a question I saw this morning, that we have been able to reduce from 250 backlog to 150. That's still very huge, but further another no less than amount of 50 million is further added to deal all those, including the acts that the president passed, which deal with issues of family violence, child protection, and sexual offenses, and then easing the burden on the victims from taking responsibility, assisting them even in testifying, and even these things that warrant of arrest and so on. All those issues. There's a lot of intervention in the area, but looking at the stats as they pertain now, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and there will be progress report in the summit that we have already spoken about with regard to what are the new interventions. If you look at the theme, it's calling for all departments and stakeholders to actually demonstrate in their own space what are they doing. Those are some of those are the activities that actually demonstrate our intention. At the end of the day, this matter, Naomi, it should be a societal matter at the end of the day, all of us. You know what I mean by that. Minister Kelly has spoken, but it's a matter that must worry us because it tends to be resilient. There's been a lot of prosecution, a lot of arrests and convictions. We can do better. How far are you with What was your question now? Oh, no. It's Samke. How far are you with pulling in international support? If I'm correct? There's a lot of work, Samke, that is being done. We have made that commitment. I cannot give you the exact report now on how far we are, but that's a huge commitment. When we said we're opening up, remember the president has spoken several times that one of the worst things we did was to have one institution being the generator of electricity. It's not done because what do you do when that collapses? That's why the intervention plan seeks to open up private sector, lifting the cap for generation so that you generate and the spillover goes to the grid. There's commitment to actually firm up the transmission, what to call infrastructure, commitment to innovate in many ways so that there are multiple ways in which energy goes to the grid, and also dealing with the distribution. But on your question, I need an update with regard to where are we in as far, but the commitment stays in as far as that part is concerned. And on the holiday, that matter we have not discussed, and then government is always confronted with a lot of demands on different holidays. I guess is one of the matters that can be in our radar screen and then analyze it on its merit. Although, if you remember, Naidu, it's always important to have a fair balance between the number of holidays country has and the time it's spent in driving its economy, especially in our situation. The question of briefing, I'm not sure, I don't remember it being done, but what I cannot doubt, normally they do the readiness briefing, and I don't want to say they are not going to do it, and I'm very careful to say they have not done it, because I've not followed all these issues, but I've been addressing them this morning. But looking at their faces, their freshness, and the awards they were giving based on the work that has already been done by that department, I could only see readiness. On the state hospitals, I think this is a genuine question that keeps on being asked with regard to why are we not using private hospitals. A number of ministers do use hospitals, but the question is at what rate and how. It's a matter that we should continue to engage on, and I take the point that public hospitals should derive confidence to the depending on the extent of usage, in particular by those of us who are in power. But we are open to that question, and it's a question that we're going to continue to engage on, and so on. It doesn't look good, I agree with you. Eric Dye will issue, okay. Will the president show up? The fundamental commitment by the president is to submit the plan. And then what form then will be present in parliament? That is indeed, that's the decision of the president. But what South Africa will have to charge the president for is the submission of the protocol of the plan, which I'm very much confident will be submitted. But the form is what I cannot guarantee. Thank you very much. Oh, grey listing. Grey listing, I had that question. On the grey listing, there's a lot of work that is being done. Amending acts, tightening regulations, ensuring the stakeholder cooperation. We've been behind in as far as this matter is concerned, but the lot of work that has been done so far, we are almost on the verge of getting over this. We are confident that this is going to the requirements by FATF will be met within a short space of time. Actually, we are on the verge of meeting them, and we know if we are if we are putting on if we are put on that list, it has its impact. But looking at the rate at what our teams are driving this case, will be very short list. We'll have a very short time in that list if we get into it. The matter is serious. We know its economic implications. There's no doubt about that.
As we do, we normally just try and check whether there is a second round. Yes, do.
Good morning, Claudia from Misuzulu, Africa.
Yes.
Good morning, Claudia from Misuzulu, Africa. So my question is just on illegal mining. I've just accompanied a parliamentary oversight visit to the Northwest Province. Much has been made about the fact that with illegal mining, there are some very big name or suspicions of big name players, and the arrest was supposedly to be made in due course. That was several weeks back. I just wanted to find out, is Cabinet concerned that these arrests of the so-called big name players who are the bigwigs in terms of the illegal mining scourge have not been made yet, or when are they due to be made? And who are these big name players?
Is there any other? I think this is the last round. So, Minister, you seem to have done a good job.
Hope so.
There's more.
More.
Yes, online.
I know the other day
All right, just read them out.
they
I thought you said
brainwaved.
there's
It's okay.
nothing.
Let's sit down.
Right. Terence Klima from
Klima.
Media. Yes. He's asking what are the next steps with the JET-P investment plan now that it has been approved by Cabinet ahead of COP27. The next question is from Hello UFM. Regarding a review of the ministerial handbook, is there benefits that the current cabinet is willing to forsake? Be it the printing of pictures of ministers, anything to save public funds, and or even just a symbolic gesture to the downtrodden to say we see you suffering. Is there that level of sensitivity towards the poor in cabinet? He's got a second question asking, beyond marches and prayer meetings, what's Cabinet's plan for combating GBV from a service delivery perspective? You know, providing adequate housing, ensuring that the girl child is in class when she's supposed to be, and that her local clinic can serve her 24/7. Are we going to see any new approach on this front? The third and the last question is from the Sunday Times, Kutazo Matisa. Please elaborate what role will the DG in the presidency play as head of public administration if there is an entire department on this in the form of the PSA that has had an acting minister for a few months. Millions of South Africans are subjected to poor public health services. Do you find appropriate your laughter during a radio interview a suggestion that cabinet members use the same public hospitals? Lastly, and what brought about the change of heart on the issue of ministerial handbook? Why did the cabinet see it to approve such pacts when millions of South Africans who earn far less still have to pay for their own electricity and water? That's the last. Thank you.
Tumelo, we will always be concerned, especially with regard to arresting the kingpins. By the way, the arrest is categorized in many classes. There's international and a number of, they are graded. So as I'm sitting here, as I'm standing here, I don't have the stats, but all I can say, the concern is there. But we must also appreciate, in as far as big names in crime is concerned, even if you're not talking about illegal mine, just in 2020-21, out of no less than 2,400 cases, 1,300 plus, those are what to call, I think, are convictions. Out of no less than 22,000 cases in the high priority crime, 13,000 are before court. So all I'm trying to say, there's quite inroads that we're making on the high priority, what to call, priority crime. We are looking for the day when we're going to deal with this one, when the kingpin are made to account. We remain concerned. On the jet, the business plan was appreciated and accepted by the cabinet. As Am said, there will be a special briefing to deal, I'm answering Krima, to deal with the funding challenges taking forward that plan. It's a matter that I would request, let's not do it now, and so on. The other question, is there a benefit that the cabinet is prepared to forsake? I wish I had stats here today. If you follow in this administration, the packs of cabinet ministers have been going down. Well, are they going down at a rate that impresses anyone? Maybe the neutral process, which is independent of us, in dealing with that will assist, because I think it's President's conviction that this matter is better resolved in the same manner the salaries are done. Because sometimes a confusion is made that salaries of government are decided by government. There's always a judge, a process led by the judge, and the President feels, I think he even made a joke like, maybe we should accept that inmates can't be the ones who determine the living standard, whether it's in a hostel or whatever. So I would prefer that, let's leave that to the independent. But I can tell you, ministers have always been prepared to reduce staff, to reduce, I can list a number of perks that they have always been prepared to what to call, to the credit card. Maybe we need to, maybe the minister in the public, what to call, public administration, when they come, they will show you over time the number of benefits ministers have always been prepared to what to call, to forsake. But the details of this, rather, in my view, be left to the independent process that the President has spoken about. If you remember the cabinet, in this administration, President reduced the cabinet. Is it an adequate reduction? That question is neither here nor there. It's a matter that we will always talk about. All what I think we need to accept now, through the President's leadership, the concern of our people has actually been taken into account to make sure that a process that will decide, rather neutral and independent on the matter, that process is embarked on. DG, I would request to my colleague that we wait the briefing by the Minister, Messi, because the details of this changes of DG and the number of conditions and so on, the specialist in that is the Minister himself, and he's already made an undertaking that is going to deal with that and so on. Change of heart, I mean, change of heart, in my view, it's when, I don't know how to explain that, it's when there's always a commitment in this government to respect the use of resources. The challenge we faced now is how that method has been executed. All what the President says, because there's this outcry, rather an independent institution should do it, whether you call that a change of heart, because English is not my first language. I am not sure. But however, all what I request to appreciate that President has responded to the outcry of the public so that this thing is done transparently and independently. I think I'm done. Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to listen.
Thank you very much, Minister, and thanks to my colleagues from the media, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Hayibo, kwenzeka?
Kevin, sisikhathi. Ungawali, sisikhathi.
Hayi.
You're not that bad.
Mina